Hello, everyone. This is Raphael,
Hey, this is Ethan.
and this is the Untitled Game Design Podcast, or should we call it something different this time? I don't know.
Uh,
I feel
it's
like
the
every episode
Untitled
we
Waffle Maker podcast.
we're talking about waffle makers now. Okay.
I very much am into waffle makers right now. Though I use them to make pancakes is the weird thing. See, you cut away at all the little ridges that it forms, and you get a nice solid pancake. Fuck
And then you just have
waffles.
the extra little like side giblets
Yeah,
to
yeah,
make
yeah.
for
Well,
for
I
the
feed them to my
sauce.
puppy, so there you go.
You feel it with the puppy? Oh,
I feed them to the
oh
puppy.
God.
Yeah, she's fat now.
Yes. Damn. Okay. Well, all joking aside, today we're going to be talking about, in case all of our stuff hasn't been dated yet or is
It's
not released on
absolutely
time.
dated. This might go up before everything else, to be honest, to capitalize on, the fact that Minecon just happened. And we got like a
That's
backlog
true.
of 8 fucking episodes.
It'd be very funny if we just didn't post this except for this one. we,
Yes. This is the final one.
this is the final one. But yeah,
Of
today we
course.
want to talk about we want to talk about specifically my the new changes to Minecraft. And yes, we are talking about Minecraft again if we don't post this in the right
Yes,
order.
I
Um,
will always try to get Minecraft stuff out because I still love that game. It's a fun time.
the game's great. The game's great.
Yeah.
There's a reason why it's the number one selling game ever.
Mm.
But yes, we want to talk a bit about the new changes to Minecraft and what that
Yes,
means
the
from a design
upcoming
aspect
changes
for
to
the players.
Minecraft. They announced at
Yes.
Minecon 1.17 the what is it? Caves and Cliffs update, and
Mm-hmm.
they showed off a lot of new features that are going to be coming to Minecraft in the future. And there's a lot of implications that aren't really discussed that we'd like to talk about of what these kind of mean for how Minecraft is now and how it's going to be in the future and just talk about some of the new ideas and mechanics they're trying to bring in and like how they're interesting, how they could be improved, stuff like that.
Yeah, yes. So, what did you want to talk about first? There's a lot of things that happened as it is.
I did send you notes if you haven't read them.
I have read them, but this is supposed to be like a easy back and forth where you take the first
This is
step.
this is an easy back and
We
forth,
weren't we,
but
we
I
weren't
want to know
supposed to
if you
bring
want
up
to
the
talk about
notes.
the who. I just realized on my notes I wrote who won the biome vote. God damn it!
Yes, you wrote the wrong thing, but I understand exactly what you meant.
It's
But
because for the last 2 years it's been a biome vote, but it's the mob vote.
mm,
What did you think of the 3 mobs introduced and the winner?
the three mobs are interesting. The first mob, Isolager, is going to be an interesting combat mob. That was going to be interesting for, especially with the new like high top cliffs and
Hmm.
mountains, right?
Yeah, I
It's
think
going to
it
be
would have fit
like
well in with the mountain update.
yes, because it was supposed to be a high top mountain illager or
Hmm.
mad mob, right?
Yeah.
Moo Bloom seemed like another interesting choice there. Moo Bloom had some like flowers. It was basically a cow with flowers. It was
Hmm.
also supposed to interact well with one of the newer mobs, which was
The bees,
bees,
yeah.
right? So basically, it can act as I assume a pollination point, like just also a cow.
Yeah, that would have been
Uh,
cool.
the glow squid seemed kind of interesting.
Kind
However,
of
they said
interesting.
yeah, it was supposed. I thought it was going to be a glow in the dark squid that can use
Yeah,
to
it
traverse.
can't actually glow in the dark is the problem.
Yes, they said in the live stream that the glow squid does not emit light, but rather it will just sort of show up in the dark. Right.
Yeah.
Uh, Out of the three of them, I personally found the Moo Bloom more interesting. Uh,
Alright.
Mostly because, okay, first of all, the glow squid's kind of boring. It doesn't do much.
Are you denouncing the winner?
Yes,
Do
yes, I
you
am announcing the
denounce
winner.
God?
I denounce God, and I will kill God. But,
Yes, everyone
but
kills squids.
yes, but the glow squid seemed kind of boring because it's true. If it emitted light, that would
Hmm.
make it great underwater
Yeah.
because then you could like explore what's it called, the ocean ruins a lot
Mhm.
easier. And the Isolager is a combat focused mob, and I personally think that Minecraft combat kind of sucks.
Minecraft combat does suck.
Yes, so like the Isolager is a great idea if they had a more nuanced combat system.
Hmm.
But the Moo Bloom very much seems and fits in with the aspect of like building your own stuff, having your own like little farm and all that other jazz.
Yeah, I can see the Moo Bloom working. My vote was for the Isolager.
Understandable.
Um, I just like the illager kind of branch of creatures in Minecraft because they have very unique powers and abilities. Like, there's the
Mm.
one that summons the Vex, which is cool, but no one really sees it because it's only in the Woodland Mansions. Another one, which is in the game files, and you can spawn it, but it doesn't spawn naturally in survival, is the
Mm.
Illusioner, and it can make duplicates and copies of itself, which is really cool, but they've never actually integrated it into the game mechanically, which kind of
That
sucks.
makes sense.
Hoping that the Iceologer would be another one of those sort of unique creatures, a different kind of attacking style, just running up and hit you. And for a lot of multiplayer games, like I watch Hermitcraft, and on Hermitcraft right now they created something called what the hell is it called? Not Ravager Run. That was last season. I can't remember what the game is called that they have right now, but essentially it's like you put yourself in a maze, you take off all your armor, and you run through it, and there's a bunch of like hostile mobs trapped in cages and ravagers running around chasing you, and you have to get to like prizes and loot and take it out of the maze. And
Yes.
I really could see the Iceologer working for that and being a cool mob for them to like interact and run from.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. That's like for fun, single multiplayer, but
Hmm.
like not necessarily like making your own game mode inside Minecraft. That kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, I
Dice
do
Launchers could
see
be an
that
interesting
being
tool.
very its unique attack could be very useful for making your own
Mm-hmm.
game modes and entities and stuff like that.
I won't deny that. But can we both agree that the glow squid sucks?
It absolutely does suck. If it can actually produce light, that would be kind of cool. But the
Mm.
problem with that is how Minecraft works is when you place a torch, it essentially rebakes the lighting in the game, so you can't actually have like ambient living light sources, which is why communities have suggested for years that there's like an introduction to a mining helmet and stuff like that. So when you go to the
Mm.
caves, you don't have to place torches, the light follows you. But they can't do that because the lighting is all baked.
And they have to re-instance the baking as soon as you
Yeah,
place on any
and it
one
would be
torch.
extremely laggy. Maybe if the problem, they could probably do it in Bedrock or
Bedrock
the
is a
console
good
edition.
possibility. Just
Yeah.
because it's a new code base, right?
They didn't use Java, and the game runs way smoother on there. The main reason no one uses Bedrock though is because a lot of the glitchiness that we're used to in Minecraft, it kind of makes Minecraft, like the way Redstone works, only
Mm-hmm.
works in Java because of those bugs and glitches that Bedrock doesn't have.
No, that's understandable though. Just
Mm.
because, yeah, like what people don't seem to understand is that like bugs are indeed features. It's a joke. It's a
Hmm.
joke,
Bugs are
but it's
features.
also true.
Yes, absolutely.
You cannot deny that. For example, if we talk about bugs as glitches, Super Smash Bros. Melee wave dashing is a bug, an
Yes.
unintentional bug, and yet that's what. And wave dashing is the entire like praxis
Hmm.
of competitive Smash and Melee, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's completely understandable why people still love Java. I still love Java Minecraft. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, so do I. Bedrock does run way better though. There's so much less lag, man. Servers run great.
Hey
Oh,
man, it's okay. It's okay.
it's okay.
I'll put up with lagginess just to play my normal
Yeah,
Minecraft.
especially since we do
That's
redstone, so
yeah.
we gotta have those
Uh,
glitches in. But at Bedrock, if I can just go back to that, they can push chests in Bedrock, and you can make machines around moving chests around with pistons. It's so good.
oh, that I didn't know that. I did not know that. That actually has a lot of interesting applications.
It really
Just
does. It's nice.
just especially when those like aesthetic redstone contraptions where you just
Hmm.
hide chests and move chests instead of just revealing one block to show the chest. You just move the chest up instead.
Yeah.
Like that sounds nice. That sounds dope.
Like Bedrock allows for block entities to actually be pushed around and moved. I think you can do the same thing with like dispensers and droppers and stuff, and that's really unique and like really brings something to the game that would be cool for
Mm.
Redstone. But let's get back to the topic of 1.17, the major
Yes,
feature, the new cave generation. Ooh. So
cave
we've seen it
generation.
has a lot of new like open spaces, small little crevices, large areas, underground lakes.
A more realistic forming
Yes,
of caves.
it does have a very realistic formation of caves. But my major question that no one seems to really be talking about is what happens to the old mining techniques? How strip mining? How is that going to work with these vast open expanses? Will the bottom of the world still generate with large amounts of blocks? No cave systems down there, or what's going to happen with that?
I would personally assume that about like level 12 and below, there
Mm-hmm.
probably won't be too many open spaces, mostly because lava beds live there, right?
True.
But anything above, let's say like 20 and above, right? I
Mm-hmm.
still think that there's going to be a lot of these large cave generations.
Yeah, with the large cave
But
generations will mess up a lot of our ways of mining right now, though.
mhm,
Because if they leave the bottom, strip mining will still be available, but they're changing up ore generation to match the new cave generation. They have
mhm.
to. So that
They have
could
to.
change up how strip mining works and what will be spawning there, and then how much consistency.
I
And
mean, that's the thing though. Like, it's going to change the consistency, but I think the last most recent like biggest change to Minecraft's mining was
mhm,
probably what's the word for those giant holes in the ground? Ravines.
yeah,
Ravines were probably one of the biggest changes, yet they turned out quite fine, right?
yeah,
So I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue. The only thing that, if anything, is the fact that there's going to be a reliance of verticality now,
hmm
right? So,
absolutely. Or spawning in the ceilings of these vast open areas. It
mhm.
makes me question how we're actually going to be able to reach these ores. The obvious choice would be elytra, but you can't exactly stop and like grab what's on the ceiling, so you have to use scaffolding.
There's also the sad thing about Elytra is it's an end game object. So at that point, you
Yeah.
really need to be mining off the top of a off the
Mm.
top of the ceiling,
Yeah, if you
right?
have elytra, you're pretty much good already. But
Yeah.
the other alternative is scaffolding. Well, I mean, you could always just, pillar up there with dirt, which is probably what
Mm-hmm.
most people are going to have to do. But scaffolding is a good alternative. Problem with that is scaffolding is kind of rare. You can make it in abundance, don't get me wrong, but bamboo is the problem. It's in a rare biome in the jungle, which is in itself kind of a nightmare to get through.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very easy to obtain, and it's going to be a heavily relied upon resource. And
Yeah.
I don't know, they might have to, change the rate at which the bamboo forests spawn so that we can actually get our hands on the bamboo to make scaffolding to actually cave properly.
See, the thing I have about that though is the main issue I have about bamboo and scaffolding in general
Hmm.
is the that yes, it is hard to find once, but when you find it, it's easy to make more because you can replant
Absolutely.
them, right? But then there's also the fact that bamboo only has one use, and that's scaffolding.
Yeah.
If it had more uses, I would say like hell yeah, let's make more bamboo forests. But if they don't, I have a biome that's completely useless to me.
That's true. There's quite a few things in the game that are only used once, and they're in the update. It looks like there's going to be a few more things like that, but we can come back to that later.
I would generally prefer to just have like instead of making it a rare only in specific biomes, just make it like rare in all biomes. Personally, it's one of those things where just sort of like you can add the rarity to something, but if it only has one specific use, that rarity becomes less valuable in a sense.
Mhm.
Especially since
I
it's
see
not
what you
like,
mean.
especially since like bamboo and scaffolding is like very niche use and it's not like an everyday use type of thing in the game, right?
Yeah.
You don't go out and be like, oh man, I need some scaffolding right now, right? You're never like that. You're more like, oh yeah, I need some more iron or I need some more wood,
Hmm.
right? Wood's
Yeah,
in
it
abundance.
is a very niche item, but it's a useful item.
It's a don't get me wrong, it's definitely useful. The amount of Minecraft servers I've been where I needed scaffolding to just like build off a cliff face,
Hmm.
great, usable. Issue, I I don't need that much scaffolding after I have a
Yeah.
stack.
Well, most people use the additional bamboo as like a good alternative to coal because it just grows in such a rapid pace.
And then that's less of an issue on, like, hey, these, like, bamboo is bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
But more the fact that bamboo is so abundant after you have it once that you're willing to burn it.
Yeah, it's true. It's kind of an awkward issue to have, really. Like once you find it again, it's extremely common because you can just grow it in abundance. But getting it for the first time in a world is always the difficult part.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
so with the new ore generation as well, and the new changes to these vast open areas underground, regular veins, like when you go through a smaller mine shaft or tunnel in Minecraft right now, the current cave system, there's
Mm-hmm.
ore lining the walls, but I don't know what's going to happen to that. You can get a lot of iron and gold just by going along the cave system that generates naturally. But in the
Yes.
new system, there's going to be, again, larger open space. So what's going to happen to a lot of those ores that would generate in pockets on the side of the walls in the caves? I
Mm-hmm.
could definitely see this affecting the numbers and rates at which we can get ores. Lighting as well is going to be a big issue. In the clips that they showed off, a lot of the lighting in that is they made it by changing blocks like iron, coal to emit light for that demonstration because it's so dark and empty, and that's going to have hostile mobs spawning like crazy. I see
Yes,
ravines
yes.
are pretty bad at Minecraft for like hostile mob generation. They spawn like
Mm-hmm.
crazy above you, below you, they'll knock you off. Ravines are kind of cool because they're kind of a naturally organic difficulty curve just because of how much mobs spawn in those larger areas
Yeah.
underground. And these new generations are going to make ravines seem easy by comparison. There's going to be so many mobs spawning under there. It makes me wonder if they're
Mm-hmm.
going to have to tweak the ratios. Again, much like with ores, they're going to have to change enemy generation as well to kind of compensate.
I think, if anything, it's not gonna be. It's gonna be a. This sounds a bit weird. I think that's a non-issue, right? As you said, ravines are a difficulty curve. Like what makes ravines interesting is that they're exposed to the surface, right? Usually,
Mm-hmm.
so that would be your first set of difficulty in finding a ravine. You get your ores you need. You usually find enough iron to make a full suit of iron. Then, if you want to get even more difficult, you can go into an underground lake, have a bunch of mobs spawn, and I see nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
That's the next logical increase. Now you're fully underground. You're fully in the
I do
in it.
remember saying, I think in our previous Minecraft video, that I do believe Minecraft needs to be harder. But I was thinking more along the lines of like harder, more intellectually taxing enemies, something that's a bit more strategic to fight, which the new mob, the Warden, kind of fits that bill for me.
Mhm.
But just being swarmed, I don't entirely count as a fun difficulty increase personally.
I can understand that. It's just the two different levels of play, especially because of the nature of mobs in general in Minecraft.
Hmm.
But I find that at least in this sense, it at least logically, underground lakes, all these underground like stalactite, slag mine areas
Yeah.
are the logical increase of difficulty, right?
Hmm.
Especially with the stalactite, stalagmite areas, right?
Oh, the dripstone caves.
The dripstone caves,
It
that's what they're
kind of
called. I
bothers me
forgot.
that stalactites and stalagmites aren't gonna just kind of naturally spawn throughout the caves.
Yeah,
I'd personally make it a condition where if there were already like ponds and small underground lakes
yeah.
that you could find, and I'd have those underneath them. Essentially, is what I would have
Mm.
done because it would make
Well,
sense for the water coming down from the rocks above.
I'm not
Uh,
100% certain, but I think that those type of areas underground are the logical increase of difficulty for the game, especially
fair enough. Fair
drips,
enough.
especially dripstone, because like, you know how in the game they said that stalactites will fall.
Stalactites will fall and damage you, and if you fall onto stalagmites, they will hurt you,
Yes.
like spikes in
So
the ground.
so like it's literally less about the mobs there and more
Mm.
about the environment
Yes, the
with the
environment will
mobs,
kill you. That's kind of a nice touch. I do like
right?
that.
That is, in my opinion, the best logical increase of difficulty. Because mobs are dumb, but what you play
Mm.
Minecraft for is less about the mobs, but the environment. And if the
Yes.
environment kills you with enemy mobs near you, That is Omega Brain difficulty spike. It's specifically for Minecraft. Specifically
Yeah,
for
no,
Minecraft.
fair enough. Let's see, what else is there? Apparently, yeah, they're changing ore generation. They said that they're going to make it veins, so I'm assuming less kind of sporadic in more larger pockets at once that you can kind of follow. If you've ever seen,
Yeah.
what is it, Terra Firma Craft, I'm assuming it's going to be a lot more like that kind of generation.
Can you explain how Generation Terraformercraft works for the viewers?
Generation Terra Firma Craft is ores are a lot less common, but they are far more dense. So instead of having like, in regular Minecraft you have your pocket, there's 4 iron ore there, that's it. Terra Firma Craft, you can find something between 4 and like 50 blocks of iron, or iron ore anyways. So there's a prospector tool that allows you to detect the size of ore of an ore pocket near you, and it will tell you small sample, medium sample, or large sample, and that will give you the range of like, okay, this is only 3 iron blocks. I'm not going to go for that because in that system there's also cave-ins that can happen.
Yeah.
And
Like that seems like super cool, especially since Minecraft, I feel, always had that issue of just like, oh, I found X ore. Fuck, it's only 4 pieces and I can't find any more.
yeah, it would be cool if they kind of added that sort of prospecting aspect in. Cave-ins could be interesting too, but I think I'd reserve that for a specific biome and not kind of everywhere.
I mean, if anything, the cave-in could just be a bunch of gravel.
Could be. That's how they kind of designed Growl to be the first place. But
Yeah.
Growl kind of just, I don't know, never really worked out that way, mostly because they're in smaller pockets.
I feel like if anything, gravel shouldn't be if the current block is empty, fall down.
Mm-hmm.
It should have been if the X amount of blocks away are empty, fall down.
Oh,
right?
I see what you mean. Yeah.
So then you can still have a bunch of gravel above you as long as you have supports every so often.
Mhm.
But break the wrong support, everything falls with it.
That's a nice idea, actually.
It would probably be an arm and a leg to code, especially because you have to have the blocks interact with each other. And like, oh, are you clear? Are you good?
Scaffolding works like that, actually.
Oh, you're right. Actually, now I think about it, yeah.
Let's see, with the new vast expanses in the caves down below, there's also going to need to be a new means of lighting. Because running around there, just torching everything, is going to be a pain, especially those higher edges. It's going to take a lot of time and resources. So there might need to be a new way to like put torches around. I remember reading on the feedback site that people are saying arrows with torches attached so that you can just stay in position and fire, and where the arrow lands, a torch is placed there.
I have not read that, and I was literally going to say that.
I
was going to say, give me torches on arrows, dude. Give me torches on bows. Give me like something like that. Mm-hmm. Even if it's just temporary.
Just a way to like light up an area for a bit. Maybe even it could be like, you know how when you stand on like a redstone block or something like that, it lights up for just a few seconds and then turns off? Imagine the torch arrow would be essentially the same thing when it lands. It has a couple seconds to like light up the area so that it's not broken, and you gotta run over there and put a proper torch to light up the space. But in the meantime, it will stop mobs spawning on you. I think that'd be cool.
Be nice.
Another question about the caves I have is old structures. How will they generate?
Well, in the case with strongholds, they don't care.
Stronghold don't give a fuck.
Stronghold don't give a fuck. Generally, I don't think they'll be affected. A lot of these structures already don't give a shit about the way that other things spawn around them.
That is very true. I think mine shafts will be better now. They'll be a lot more open, and I think it'll feel like proper mine shafts.
Yeah, if anything, it's just gonna maybe add more to the ambiance. Like, imagine the stronghold in the middle of a cave lake.
Mm-hmm. That'd be actually kind of cool.
Right?
This looming building that you find underground, surrounded by just a cave lake.
Yeah, like generally, like
you got a boat to it.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like I don't think there's gonna be any changes to generations. If anything, it might just look better.
I think it will actually add a lot to the ambiance.
Mm-hmm.
One question I have is cave shapes and sizes. How will that work in a generation? It's hard to predict this because it could be based on the biomes or it could just have kind of randomly in the world sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have new cave systems like the lush caves, or was it the
Dripstone
deep
caves.
dark and the dripstone? The dripstone caves they showed off in the new generation, but some of the other areas that they showed they use the current vanilla Minecraft form of generation because they haven't integrated it in with the new one yet. So we don't
Mm-hmm.
really know what those can look like. They could have those vast open expanses as well, or maybe they will choose to generate in those smaller sort of pocketed caves or corridor-like caves. Maybe,
I mean,
yeah,
genuinely, it seems like we're speculating on how God will roll the dice, right?
pretty much. Like,
uh, it,
I,
it's
it's an interesting
it's
question though.
it is an interesting question. It's just we can't say
Yeah,
anything to it
I said
to
this is
the
very
first
hard to
extent.
kind of predict, but it is interesting because I like the lush caves a lot, but I'm looking at the video, you only see it in just a small pocket, and I'm just so curious to see if I can have this in a vast open expanse, almost like what is that one movie or book?
Ah, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Sorry,
Yes, of course, the M. Night Shyamalan classic, 10 out of 10. Well, anyways, what the fuck was I saying?
you were talking about having an open expanse underground lush
Oh,
caves.
what the fuck is it called? It's like Journey to the Center of the Earth. There we
Ah, yes. Okay,
go.
there we go. That makes
With
sense.
the underground like dinosaurs roaming around. I just
That's
really want to
understandable.
see that kind of lush, overgrown cave system beneath. And if it's going to
Hmm.
be like again, if they determine sized caves by biomes, I think that's going to be very limiting in what we can see. I'd very much like it to be just kind of random. You can find a small lush biome, you can find a big lush biome. That would be very nice, I think, and would be
I
really fun to
think
build a basin.
I think the only issue I have with lush caves is from what they've shown in the example, is that they will only exist under specific trees. So unless we can get a big forest of those trees, I don't think we'll ever get a big lush cave system. You know what I mean?
I suppose you're right. Maybe there could be more azalea trees like scattered around. We don't
Mm-hmm.
know yet. Like
In case I just realized now to the viewers that we didn't talk about what lush caves are. Lush caves will only spawn under specific azalea trees,
yes,
and
azalea
there'll be
trees.
like a small cave system with a bunch of vines and a bunch of
Hmm.
greenery, and it generally just looks good.
It
But
looks fantastic, and it has a lot of natural lighting because it has glowberries and stuff like that, and a lot of the blocks and stuff in there give off
yeah,
light naturally as well. So that's cool.
yeah. So that's why we think that, at least why I think that I don't think
Axolotls as well.
we'll
Praise
get to
God.
those little fuckers.
Don't
but
call them little fuckers. They're the true
hey,
God and the killers of Bill Cipher. All right.
shut up. But god damn.
I got my Bill
But
Cipher shirt on right.
of course you do. Because you know chaos god. But lush caves, I don't think will ever be as big,
Mm.
unless we know that azalea trees won't create a forest. If they create a forest,
Well,
who
who
boy
says
will you
that they
have
have
your?
to be very like forested? It could just be one azalea tree and then another one like 30 blocks away. But that entire expanse could still be a lush cave system. We don't know.
We don't know. It really depends on how big they
Yeah.
go. But from what I've seen in
Yeah.
the live stream,
Demo.
it didn't look too big,
It did
right?
not. I do like the azalea trees though. I don't think there'll be a new wood type. It's probably going to be like those little jungle bushes, how they're just oak. I
Mm-hmm.
but the leaves with the little leaves with the little leaves. God damn it, the leaves with the little flowers
Oh, those
look.
look
They're going to be
great.
very nice for building with. And I'm kind of hoping we get more trees with little flowers. I could see a nice. I kind of want one with like orange flowers.
You
There's
really just want
also a
to pretty
new
up the garden in the
yeah, pretty up
Minecraft
the
house.
garden, make nice hedges, stuff like that. It's very
Yeah.
useful for building, and since that's what I like to do most of all, it's going to be nice for me. People are saying that there's a new dirt type below the tree, but I think to me it just looks like coarse dirt. I'm not entirely sure.
We'll see when we see it. The very fact that they didn't even mention it says to
Yeah,
me
they
it
kind of
wasn't
overlooked it.
anything new,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Hmm.
if they introduce a new block type, why the heck would they not be like, hey, let's show it off? we want everyone to know how
Well,
this.
I mean, you say that, but they didn't really talk. There's a new stone as well that they showed off in the deep dark biome,
Hmm.
but they didn't really talk about that one either.
Well, we're not sure. Well, we're not sure. We're not
Yeah.
100% certain, unless they confirm it or we get our hands on it. We can't
hmm
always be sure, right? But besides that, axolotl.
I love the fact that they come in three colors. It's pink, purple, and yellow, and they
Hmm.
can be tamed. I will have one in a bucket in my inventory till the day I die. Oh, I love them.
So when I restart the server when the new patch comes up,
Yeah,
yeah. So I'm killing you.
you're killing me and taking my axolot.
Yeah, no, you saw how many dogs and foxes I had in my house.
Yeah, I saw that. This is why I don't fuck with you on the server. I hit you once. There's like 50 dogs that are just gonna rip me to shreds. God damn
Exactly,
it.
exactly.
It's
I
gonna.
am the beast master.
But yeah, the
But
axolotls are
yes,
a cool addition. They're an underwater pet as well, which is a first. So that'd be
yes,
cool.
that is good. I like that. Don't not just random ass fishes. I
hmm
also think it's interesting how they can tank guardian hits for
Yeah,
you.
it's kind of interesting. Apparently, they can play dead as well, but no one really knows what that means. The demonstration wasn't very revealing on that.
Yeah.
Also in the lush biomes, new food slash again that kind of ambient lighting source, the glowberries. I
We talked about it, but not really talked
Yeah,
about
we
it
talked
yet.
about it, but not really talked about it. It's a new food source, and it's just kind of vines that have it's a new vine type, which is cool. I'm assuming we can climb it as well, like the new ones introduced in the Nether, and of course the
Mm.
original ones. I don't know if they'll be useful for anything. I could see glow squid and the glow berries being used in potions, because there
Yeah,
is there's the arrows of revealing, but you can't really craft them as far as I remember.
because it requires glowstone dust, and that is
Is
a
that
resource
glowstone
that's already.
dust? I
It is
really,
glowstone dust, I believe.
yeah. But I could definitely see something like those being used for like advanced night vision or something. Just you
Hmm.
can use it for potion crafting. Though we haven't had new potions in a while.
Yeah. Also, I just remembered why I mentioned it. The glowstone on an arrow is actually a spectral arrow,
Yeah, there we
which
go.
is why I'm dumb, but beside the point.
Oh, I like the addition of moss in the lush caves as well. It
Hmm.
kind of looks like a grass texture, but it forms on all sides of the block, and it can even form like a carpet sort of layer on top, which is something I've really wanted in Minecraft for a while. I kind of wanted moss-covered trees, but I can just make them now with the moss block. Then
Yeah.
I'm assuming it spreads.
Hmm.
I don't know if it would be like a mycelium, how it overtakes dirt, or what's gonna happen there, but it's
I mean,
interesting.
it's an interesting thing nonetheless, right?
Mm,
It's content to crush through.
yeah. It's a very good building resource as well. Spore flowers are another kind of ambient object, really adds to the atmosphere. I
Yeah.
don't know what they do, honestly.
Nor do I. I saw them. Look pretty. That's it.
They look pretty. They spawn particles that just kind of drop like pollen and spores, but I don't think they do anything other than kind of just look nice. Maybe they could introduce some kind of aspect to them. Maybe they'll have an effect, like it poisons you if you're under them. Spores are not good to inhale, so I'm really
Yeah.
curious what's going to happen with that.
I would
And
genuinely love if the spore flower had AoE poison damage, essentially. That would be really fun, in my opinion.
yeah, sure, real
But,
fun that is.
dude, in the end, if it's a pretty block, it's a pretty block.
If
People
it's a
will use
pretty
them.
block, it's a pretty block.
Yeah.
It just kind of sucks. I think it can only go on the ceiling, but I could see it being nice being on the floor or on the walls for
Hmm.
someone's build. Maybe they'll change that up. Kind of like
Maybe.
in I mean, with the Nether update that just came out recently, there was a lot of speculation on what was going to happen with a lot of those blocks and biomes, and
Yeah.
a lot of the community was surprised about all the changes that were made to kind of, you know, based on community suggestions and other things like biomes that we weren't told about were added in. So I'm assuming we're going to actually see some more for the cave update as well that we just don't know about yet.
Probably. I
Um,
wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't put it
uh,
past them.
the last sort of thing in the Lush Caves, which actually has surprisingly a lot of unique things to it, is the drip leaf flower. The one that if you stand on it, it slowly goes down like that one stage in Smash Bros.
So the drip leaf flower. Let's just explain it a bit. It's a generatable structure, kind of.
Kind of,
It's
yeah.
yeah. It can basically act as a platform, but if you stand on there too long, it falls through and you fall through it.
Yeah,
Right?
it's going to be interesting for making parkour courses and platforms for your game servers or your just your general multiplayer survival. It's
The
something
people,
fun to add
the
in.
people who want to make adventure maps
I
too.
could
Right?
yeah, adventure maps. I could see this being useful for redstone if you can actually get a signal from it.
That would be
It could
that would
work
be
as
very cool to get a signal through it.
hmm
Also, just a side note, as a person who enjoys making traps for people, it's a great way to just possibly screw someone over.
Yeah, imagine if you could put like gravel on top of it, and then if someone stands on the gravel, it weights it down, and then it goes so that they can't tell,
That would
and then
be
it
an
drops.
interesting way
It would be
thing. Would we?
interesting to have kind of falling blocks not be
Mhm.
affected, but it can detect one block above a falling block.
That would be interesting to say
That'd
the
be
least.
interesting. That would help you really not be
Screw
able to
someone
see
over.
what's coming. Yes, screw
Yeah.
someone over, i.e. me. The next sort of thing that's a new, not biome, but it's a structure that's being added. So it can spawn in any of these. So you could find it in the lush caves, you can find it in the regular caves, the dripstone, is amethyst geodes. They are unmovable, rare structures. So their base blocks are like kind of like bedrock. You cannot smash them, and you cannot move them. They're a good texture though, but we can't obtain them as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
And spawning conditions we don't know about what height level it spawns at. If it can only spawn specific biomes, I'm pretty sure it can spawn in any. I think they said.
I don't quite remember where they said it would spawn,
Yeah,
but either way,
yeah, it's
it's
a
an interesting thing.
very
It
rare
spawns a very
structure as
unique.
well. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very unique.
It also spawns a unique resource known as amethyst.
Yeah, but this is
Right?
kind of the bamboo issue over again. This is what I was going to talk about. It's a rare resource, but once you get it, you have it in abundance because this regenerates those crystals that you can take. The amethyst grows
Yes.
off those unbreakable blocks, and you can mine the crystals, take them, and then use them. But you can only use them for telescope. The telescope is cool. It's a nice zoom in feature. I'm gonna use that.
Oh no, definitely. I think the item is great. However, it suffers in even worse condition to bamboo because A, it's even rarer,
Yeah.
and B, the telescope you need to craft only once.
Yeah, and bamboo you can also take with you. The geodes, you're gonna have to travel back and forth there because again, you cannot take them. So you're really gonna have to set up a mining settlement around this thing.
If you want to, I don't even think you want to because you can only make telescopes with it.
as far as we're aware, we can only make telescopes. I'm sure there will be like a block or two that we will make out of it that is gonna be an interesting thing to build with. I don't know how useful it's gonna be. It's a curious question to see if they'll add in other sort of geodes and crystalline structures because it's a very kind of like pinkish purple, and I could see if they're gonna do blocks like crystal blocks, or that's like
Yeah.
see through or solid texture. It would kind of be cool to have other crystal colors as well, right? I could
Yeah.
definitely see them in the future adding more sort of these geodes.
It'd be really cool with it. Just harder to break glass.
That would be nice. Yeah.
Like how we have like the only thing that acts like glass that has higher durability is steel bars or
Yeah.
iron bars. How about something with the opacity of glass but with the rigidity of steel?
The rigidity.
Sorry, it's just like one
It's a
thing.
good
It's just
idea.
a telescope,
Yeah.
right? So far that we know, it's just a telescope,
It's
and that
just
just
a
seems kind of dumb.
The
That's just
telescope
my-
is nice, but you'd think it would just be out of glass.
Yeah.
People are also saying because I do check the feedbacks. As I said before, people kind of wanted to be able to like in the blacksmithing table combine it with a bow or a crossbow to make a sniper slash precision shots. So that when you draw back your bow, you can see a zoomed in view, so you can make longer range shots. I think that would be kind of cool.
It would be nice. It would be something I wouldn't expect, but it would be nice.
The last new biome, I believe, is
Yes, and the one that's the most interesting in my opinion.
the most interesting. And I have a few other interesting questions about it as well that I didn't write down in our notes, but
Yeah.
let's take it off. It's
In the
called
notes
the.
that don't exist because this is a casual
This
conversation.
is a casual conversation.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, this one and the Pokemon one, the only ones that we did notes for, and both broke an hour.
This is probably gonna break an hour.
I thought it would take longer to go through this list, to be honest.
Hey man, I have been brushing through a lot. Let's be honest
that's
here.
true. But again, there's not much to really. We speculate, but there's also so much we can only guess about.
Yeah. We
so
can't. We're basically shadow boxing here, you know.
So the deep dark biome is what it's called. In the deep dark biome, which already makes me question what this thing is going to be, because if there's a biome called the deep dark, and within that it can generate structures or areas called shulk growths, then how rare is the shulk growths going to be, and how rare is the deep dark biome going to be, and what else can we expect to sort of see in there?
I would genuinely hope it'd be a little bit more than rare, you know, kind of uncommon.
Mm.
But judging by the very fact of the only mob that's supposed to spawn in there, and its strength, it's going to definitely be a rare.
So in the demo video they showed off, the guy doing the demonstration was wearing all netherite gear, and he got 2 tapped.
For reference, again, netherite being the strongest armor type you can wear in the game right now.
Yes, after the nether update.
Yes.
It raises a huge question. What is this thing guarding? First off, how rare is this mob going to be? Because I'm assuming it's going to be more like, shulkers in the end. They are generated, they're mobs, but they are generated with structures, and once you kill them, they do not respawn. I'm assuming the Warden's going to be the same thing.
Warden's the same.
So I'm assuming it's going to be like only one in the shulk growth. But it's for its strength and its kind of uniqueness and abilities, it's going to have something very rare for me to want to go there.
I believe what's the very rare thing, at least what they've revealed to us, is the shulk growths themselves.
Yes,
right?
Those are some really interesting blocks and textures, but the shulk sensor is what you're thinking of, which is crazy.
Yes.
But problem with that is not everyone uses redstone, and that's going to be very, very, very applicable to redstone. So I don't see it being that valuable to everyone to want to go there. So there's got to be something else to drive other players into that sort of area.
I mean, there is one thing that we are talking about here that we're not really saying. Its name is the Warden.
Oh, yes, of course, the Warden, yeah.
It's called the Warden. It's going to be guarding something, obviously. But the question is it guarding something from us or from within? Going in with the crazy theories here, but you don't name something the Warden without having to do something intense, right?
Mm-hmm.
That area has to have something interesting in it, if not just good spawns, right?
Yeah. The area honestly looks like the end is leaking into the overworld. It is kind of.
It generally does. It generally does. And the one thing that's really cool about the deep dark biome is, without a torch placed down, you can't see.
Yeah. It's extremely dark, even darker than normal caves.
It's even darker than the ocean.
Something else we haven't talked about is the new vibration mechanic. Not only does the shulk sensor use it, but the Warden too. I'm assuming if you have a potion of invisibility, other mobs can't detect you, but the Warden probably definitely can. Because it goes based off movement. If you throw, like in a demonstration, a snowball, it'll hear the snowball hit the wall and walk towards where the snowball hit. If you start moving around
very
and
much
running
like
around,
a T-Rex.
Yes, this Jurassic Park now. The Warden will follow you if you begin to walk or run, and it can actually chase after you, which is actually kind of terrifying. Thing moves fast, man. I'm wondering if we can overload its senses, if you pull a pin on a grenade next to your head, you're going to have ringing in your ears. I'm wondering if we can launch a firework next to it, and then it can't hear, or it gets damaged by the sound, something like that. That'd be kind of cool interaction.
That would be an interesting interaction, but of course we won't know until we get our hands on it again.
I'm sure the community's already been suggesting
as a mob challenge, though, we finally have a mob that doesn't just run straight towards you.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's the interesting part is we can mess with it. it's the kind of strategic mob I was talking about, something that engages the player a little more instead of it just
Mhm.
running up bashing you. It's very interesting to kind of like want to walk around this, and even in netherite gear, you're not gonna just run gung ho at this thing like you would any other creature. It
Yeah.
is designed solely to make you terrified and walk away from. It's scarier than the end dragon and the wither, which is
Yo,
crazy.
definitely, definitely.
And it's just a generic mob, technically. It's not
Technically a
even a
generic
boss.
mob. It hits harder than most of the boss mobs in the game,
Hmm.
but it
Uh,
also doesn't. It also is kind of like a passive mob for the most part,
yeah.
right?
Hmm.
What makes me really question is, does it interact with hostile mobs?
That is a good question because in the footage we only get to see it on its own. There's no other hostile mobs there. Apparently, on the design documents, there's like little concept art things that they showed. There's like a
Yeah,
little picture of the warden, and it's like cuddling a bunny or something like that, and it says "Warden and Bunny are friends?" question mark.
that seems more like the artist wanted to have fun with the design
I
to me.
guess, but like that would be a weird sort of. There's always little sort of interactions between other mobs, like how the wolf will chase the skeleton, or skeleton run away from the wolf. Creepers
Yeah,
run away from ocelots. Zombies run towards villagers. I'm curious to see what the warden will happen with that.
maybe the whole like in-game lore thing is that like the reason why the Deep Dark is empty is because of the warden,
Maybe.
right?
Hmm.
That could be a very easy justification of it,
Yeah.
right?
So the warden. I'm also curious if the warden will function outside of the deep dark biome. Because if you
I
watch the
think it will.
footage,
It
what
it
happened?
should definitely.
It will probably, but the shock sensors in the growths actually transmit the sound to the warden, which is interesting to me. So if you were to remove those, would he be able to see you as well?
I think
Maybe
it
it would
would.
limit the range at which it can actually hear you because it wouldn't be
Yeah.
sending it up the chain through the
Hmm.
growths.
Yeah. No. Definitely. Definitely. It's
I could
definitely
also
that.
see with the vibration mechanics, you could you could easily make a trap for players. You know, they're walking by and they're making or running by and making too much sound near your base. It will trigger the sensors, and then that will send the redstone mechanism activating. Maybe close the door, open the trap door. You know, I could definitely
No.
see the need for like a sneak enchantment that makes it so
I
that
don't.
player
I
moving
think
will not trigger those sort of things.
I feel like if any like you notice if you just crouch walk, I believe you don't make any sound.
Do you not make sound when you crouch walk? I didn't. They didn't really
I mean,
showcase that
you
that well.
saw the live stream that the person demonstrating was crouch walking the entire time and not alerting. That's the Deep Dark for you. It's just sort of
Hmm.
an interesting new area with a very interesting new mob, and we also talked about shulk growths, not really talking about what they are.
Yeah, or the shulk growths themselves are kind of not the key part of the shulk growths. There are a few new kind of like blocks in that area. There's also a new stone type, but it looks like there's like almost like a carpet layer again. That's sort of like a texture that you can place on other blocks, going horizontally, vertically, and it looks like
Yes.
little bubbles and pockets of this sort of creeping growth that goes everywhere. And there's actual like pitch black, sort of like spotted, almost starry kind of like
Hmm.
blocks, which are kind of interesting. And then the shulk sensor themselves, which functions the same way that the warden does, where it gets vibrations through sounds, and it from that it will send like a signal around to other sensors
Hmm.
and pass that along a chain. And
What?
the thing about this is it has a lot of redstone applications. They show that in the video for going horizontally, vertically, diagonally, even with redstone. And I'm
For what's
curious.
even more interesting is it's less about the fact that it can go horizontally, vertically, whatever. It's completely wireless.
That is true. It is
Be-
directional though, because you can use wool to dampen it, and by
mhm.
dampening it with the wool, you can actually decide which kind of direction it moves in. So if you had a
Especially,
piston mechanism, you could actually change which way it moves throughout your system.
it's even more interesting because of the fact that while it is directional, you can also have it receive directionally as well,
That is
or
true, yeah.
omnidirectionally. Right? If
Hmm.
you want to have your range of which you pick up your signal all around you,
Yeah.
then you got that as well.
I don't know. This will definitely change up redstone. It's gonna be a rare item, and that's gonna really limit what it can and can't do in survival redstone. But then, of course, creative is gonna really change up the game.
You now have the ability to launch your contraptions away, completely away from you.
I mean, there were ways to kind of do that before, but those were more advanced techniques. Like a lot of people are saying, finally vertical redstone, but we have vertical redstone. You just gotta understand how it works, like using bubble streams as an on and off switch by pushing it.
Yeah, but then that's also. But the thing is, with vertical redstone in general, it required a lot more resources than just plopping one thing down.
That is true.
Right?
Like,
It's cost
yeah,
efficient
but
in a
it is
sense.
cost efficient, but also like it will have its limits versus other sort of things. Like bubble streams, I believe, are instantaneous, or rather a short time to turn on, while the vibration mechanic of the skulk sensors, they kind of slowly transmit. You can see the particles move,
Mm-hmm.
so it's going to take a while. It's not going to be as instantaneous other forms. So other means of vertical redstone aren't necessarily negated by this new innovation, I find.
That's true.
Something like there's a trick with the stone walls and stuff like that, where if you push a piston out, then it will, because they have like two versions, right? The flat surface, and then when they're kind of like more like a pillar,
Yes.
and you can use those to make instantaneous vertical redstone that goes up like infinite blocks, or you can use again bubble streams, and you can use honey contraptions or slime block contraptions to kind of infinitely transmit through a signal through a large distance by having them move up and trigger an observer. So
Yeah.
I don't think that these are going to be very limited or removed from redstone contraptions just because of this new innovation. I think there's going to be limits to the shulk sensor that we don't know about yet that will still make the other techniques viable.
I mean, that's the thing though. Like, it's new, but there's a lot more. Like, sure, there are better ways of faster connection.
Hmm.
However, the very nature of the fact that this is 100% wireless will prove to make a lot of compact builds even more compact, right?
True, but that's going to be over a shorter distance, I think. Because we haven't actually seen too much of it, in my opinion. And I can very much see it being because the particles have to transmit, and they can't necessarily go through all blocks. So for
No, they
me,
cannot.
that says you're gonna have to have open spaces for these sort of signals to transmit still, which is still like lining redstone. So how much smaller are these things actually going to be to transmit a signal between each other if certain blocks are actually going to be able to block it off?
I mean, if anything, it would require a 6x6, at least a 3x3 area, and then just if it's going directly up, just make sure the bottoms and the tops of these things are open.
Hmm.
Right? That's the only way I would manage it, right?
Yeah,
Personally.
but again, that's still the same as almost laying wire. You still have to have these air pockets available for the
Yeah,
signal to
but then you have
transmit
air
through.
pockets and not a spiral. in
I
the
suppose,
most
yeah.
Yeah, in the most literal sense, you just have a just straight up. And in my opinion, that would be a lot easier to create
Hmm.
than
I
let's
think it's going to
say.
be a lot more useful for sort of beginners in redstones and basic people in redstone
Mhm.
to get their hands on doing like vertical and long distance redstoning.
Yeah, I mean, I personally enjoy it just because I can use it in my applications for most of my underground bases. As you know,
Hmm.
like I like hiding my bases inside mountains or
Yes.
creating the mountain around it, right?
I very much like building my wooden houses, kind of like cottage style, and then I have like a farm nearby above
Yeah,
ground.
but I personally like building like
Yeah,
underground
I've
strongholds.
seen your underground base.
Yeah, and what would be really nice is having a way to close the door from all the way underground.
Hmm.
And the
You were gonna
easiest
have
way,
fun with this update, the caves. Like I've seen
definitely.
what you've done with your underground bases. You were just gonna be able to have that kind of open space because in our server, you took like the top of a mountain, covered it over, and then used that to build out your large area
Underground
that would now
base,
be
yeah.
underground. You made it pseudo underground. It wasn't naturally occurring
It
with
wasn't
large
naturally
space.
occurring, but I've created essentially what is a hidden village underground.
Yes, so now you're going to be able to do that with just the actual generation. You're not going to have to spend 5 hours again covering over the entirety of a mountaintop.
It took so long to get that much dirt, man.
Oh my god.
But yeah, no, definitely. Like I see a lot of potential in general with shulk sensors, just because it is 100% wireless.
Yeah.
It can be very useful in many other applications.
Absolutely.
And even then, you can create a one-stop clock with a shulk sensor, right?
True. What else is there? I get the shulk sensors again, and something like the amethyst geodes. Because again, I watch a lot of Minecraft multiplayer. I watch Hermitcraft, and they have their own like commodity system.
Mm-hmm.
They buy and sell items. They trade diamonds. They trade netherite, stuff like that. And I really see some of these new items being very merchandisable, very much on a multiplayer server. Whoever claims
Yes, it's
these sort of areas, they are going to make bank.
That's understandable. That's understandable.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the word is a fecund currency.
The hell did you just call me?
I believe that's what it's called.
Dude, that's the actual word, a fecund.
I might be completely wrong here. I might be thinking of just fecundity in general, which is like.
It sounds like a German swear, is what you're saying.
You're probably right. I might just be speaking out of my ass here, but I believe it is the means with which to create a currency, right? Like Capri shells and like current money right now, dollars, yen, shillings, pence, euros. You know what I mean? Like it's a limited resource that is very hard to that you can't necessarily create automatically. That you can just trade around, right?
Yeah.
It could be very much useful for that. And if you own the diamond mine, if you own the gold mines, you made the money back in the day, right? That type of stuff.
So the next feature they announced, of course, is caves and cliffs. Not a lot of cliffs shown off, by the way. Is the mountain update. Snowier snow, powdered snow. So snowier snow, we still don't know what that means, as they said. Powdered snow, though, is the snow that will kind of work like quicksand. You'll sink through it slowly. And apparently it's going to require leather boots to not sink through, which is a nice touch. But I don't know if I like the limitation of the sort of leather boot. It reminds me of how they have for the new piglin mobs, right? You gotta wear gold on you so that they don't aggro when you're in that kind of environment. It reminds me of that, take off your diamond gear, take off your netherite gear, to reduce your own overall sort of strength and make yourself weaker in order to have this advantage. I don't know if they should have it as, the leather boots, or to maybe just have an enchant like Snow Walker or something like that. I could see this. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. From a design aspect here, specifically, I like the idea of forcing my players to take less optimal routes, just because it makes for more interesting gameplay.
Yeah.
When you're in diamond armor or netherite armor and fully enchanted, you just don't care about combat encounters.
Yeah. Except for the warden.
Except for the warden, but that's a different. But he's his own combat puzzle to begin with.
Yes.
Right. But in general,
I could see I don't have too big of a problem with it, but yeah, I could see it being a bigger problem if my mob vote won the Isologer, because that guy would have been up there screwing you over. So it's kind of nice that it lost in a way, because if not, then I would have complained more that I think it should just be an enchant, because that guy's gonna screw you the hell up if he was added in.
I mean, I'm the believer of you should let your players choose whether they want an easier time or a harder time, right?
Yeah.
Like, the very fact that you can change, you just sink into the powdered snow. It doesn't mean you can't just dig it up, right?
I suppose, yeah, but it depends on how much of that snow is covering the mountain. It might just get, it's just going to be an annoying inconvenience. Oh, I got to dig up another mountain of snow.
Then you get to choose an easier time or a harder time.
I suppose.
Right?
With the mountains as well, of course, the new generation, they're a lot more taller. They're peaked instead of currently they just kind of plateau at the top.
Yeah.
Goats.
Goats.
Greatest of all time.
Greatest of all times. These things I would love if they just yeeted you off cliffs.
Yeah, they just fucking ram that cow, man. They just
In the video they
yeet
showed
that boy.
the goat just punched a cow off of a cliff.
Yeah, that's great.
I want these things to punch players off cliffs.
I think that would be fun. I'm assuming
like,
they're going to be a neutral mob. Maybe they'll definitely have an aggression mode, I'm assuming. But I'm wondering about the utility of these. Will they, because goat milk and like goat wool are things in real life. Do you think we'll be able to like shear these guys? Do you think we'll be able to milk these guys? Will they be rideable? Will they be tameable? That is a fantastic question.
If they're rideable, they have to have that goat attack.
Yes, absolutely. You left click, they just fucking dash attack you.
Yeah, they just dash at you, and if they hit something, yeets.
Yeets, very big knockback.
Like, I would love a goat to basically be a rideable Ravager.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That'd be great.
My next note here says goats not featured on the new mountains. Yeah, we actually didn't get to see them in the new environment that they're going to be on because, again, a lot of the generation changes they didn't show with the new biomes and such because they have conflicts at the moment that they're probably working out and working through and trying to see, like, oh, how does it look for the generation? Do we have to change things, improve them? And that does still raise that question to me of, like, how is this actually going to look in the end? Again, kind of my lush, overly sized underground cave biome that I would really love. Is that going to be a thing? Are they always going to be small? We don't know certainty until it's, more in development. We start getting snapshots out. The last there's 3 more things: copper ore, bundles, and archaeology. And
okay, let's start from the least interesting to the most interesting. So copper ore.
Oh wow, you find copper ore least interesting. Okay.
It's another block, my guy.
It's another block, but it oxidizes, brother. That's some chemistry, man.
It got some chemistry, but we can't do chemistry in Minecraft, can we?
Well, I mean, if you have Bedrock Edition, you can.
Okay. Yeah, but we're talking about
I'm shilling for Bedrock, and I don't even play it.
I know, right? But copper sounds like a very, very interesting.
Yeah, I would like them to change the lantern. The lanterns currently have kind of like more of a brownish texture than an iron texture. So I'm hoping they change lanterns to copper to just give copper an extra use. Because I hate building lanterns with iron. I love lanterns so much, and I waste all my iron on them. I've been stealing iron from your iron farm to produce my lanterns.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
I mean, I did make it sort of like communal. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, well, I mean, only you and I know about it. Maybe your girlfriend. I don't know who you showed. I know Isaiah doesn't know about it.
Yeah,
he's just got his fucking cobblestone shack.
Yeah. God.
But yeah, I do like copper though. A lot of people are saying, oh, build a new tool tier. I'm gonna just veto that right now.
No.
Yeah, people have been saying that for years with emeralds. The community always suggests new tool levels, and I think netherite they did in a good way. But like, it's very difficult to insert a new tool tier. And people, I think, really do need to stop suggesting this on the feedback forum. It's very redundant, and I don't think they realize the kind of rebalancing that would have to go into, like, increasing, damage levels and, like, defensive levels and health levels of creatures and players, and decreasing those SAM sort of stats to kind of make this, a progression list still.
Yeah. Like, my biggest thing is, like, if you want to add a new tool tier, you either need to put it at the very bottom or at the very top.
Yeah, I think definitely you gotta put it at the top and just keep progressing and making, like, all those harder things to approach over and over and over again. Because I don't think we can actually get any easier and lower.
Yeah, because, like, if you want to make something between wood and iron, it's going to have to be, super abundant from the very beginning. So at that point, why even use wood? Mm-hmm. Right? I guess maybe it's...
Yeah, it's kind of like how everyone kind of skips leather armor.
Yeah. And
they just go straight to iron and then from iron to diamond.
It's super funny to me that I completely ignore leather armor because I find cows harder to excavate than it is to find iron.
Yeah, pretty much.
I find more pigs than I do. I find more pigs and iron than I do fucking cows.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I already have enough cows to make leather armor, I have iron armor, and I do not need to go back.
Yeah. I think the cool thing about copper though is I could see it being used as like an alternative to a few iron sort of items, and definitely the oxidizing is interesting. Over time, it goes from it's kind of brownish orange to a sort of greenish blue. What happened to the Statue
Hmm.
of Liberty that used to be
Yeah.
brown, and then it over decades changed color to what people know now. It's an interesting idea. The video kind of shows days go by as it deteriorates. I'm wondering
Yes.
if
Yes.
weather plays an effect on that because it did rain a few times in that video, and I believe copper does oxidize more in a wet environment or like when it rains, kind of like how iron rusts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that I don't know if that will affect it or not. That's an interesting question. Um,
The only thing
I
I have an
hope
issue
you,
with oxidizing copper is that I personally think that the brown of copper looks really nice.
I think both look nice. I like the blue. That's a very
Mhm.
nice metallic sort of blue and green that we don't really have in the game, and I could really see
Yeah.
that being useful for building. But I also like the sort of orange brown that the
Yeah.
copper has is also very useful for building. So unless there's a way to stop it from degrading and oxidizing, I think the block is kind of useless. Because
Yeah.
that even then the people who want the brown don't get it. The people who want the green don't get it, right?
Don't get it immediately.
You don't get it immediately. I think there needs to be a way to instantly convert them, like placing it into a cauldron full of water,
That would be nice.
or putting it into like the actual water source block, like how you transform terracotta.
Yeah.
I think that could very much be useful for because you want to also craft these in large amounts probably if you're using them for building.
Yes.
But I think there also needs to be a way to stop it from oxidizing, or else you're never going to be able to have that sort of copper color.
Yeah. But one
Mm.
thing though, the only interesting thing about copper, in my opinion, lightning rods.
Lightning rods. Interesting. I build a lot of wooden houses, as I said. I got my farms. I've been meaning to make a barn that's going to be out of wood. I got my
Yeah.
house that's all out of. And a lightning rod is very useful because I'm constantly afraid that shit is going to be lit on fire. Though we sleep pretty often, so we
Yeah.
should be fine. But I do see a problem with the lightning rod. There are many mobs that have very rare interactions with lightning. Creepers become charged creepers, villagers become witches, skeletons. If they get struck, they become
Skeletal
like
horses.
skeleton horsemen. They spawn like four of them. Do you think that these rare spawns will be cheapened? Because I think that they could definitely change it to have a check to be like, was this a lightning rod strike? Do not convert. Because
I
I
would.
personally
I would.
prefer that.
I would personally prefer the opposite of that. Actually, I'd like
Really?
to be able to farm these other things. Cause, okay, I've never naturally seen a skeleton horse.
Really?
In all of my times playing the game, I have not
Well,
in a
that's good. You gotta
thunderstorm.
stop sleeping, but then you get the phantoms, and those are bastards.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to not do that. But I would love to be able to just get a skeleton horse, right?
Yeah.
In one of my other friends' servers, we had a competition for a skeleton horse because one of my
Oh, that
friends
sounds
had that
fun.
encounter,
That
right?
sounds fun. Yeah, but then you
But
kind of lose that kind of experience, wouldn't you?
yeah, but by the time that we got that skeleton horse encounter, that challenge, everyone was done with the server. We'd already killed the end dragon,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
right? So like like I think there's some merit of wanting to get a lot of these encounters, at least
Hmm.
not necessarily naturally, right?
Yeah. Okay.
I would love to be able to tame a skeleton horse. I'm not gonna lie. That's always when they introduced it, I was super
Hmm.
excited, but I've yet to see see one
I
proper.
I've had four skeleton horses. You want to know what I've named them?
What?
Famine, pestilence, war, and death.
Wow, what a nerd. Fucking goddamn. I'm not surprised, but I was kind of hoping you'd name them like Bone Jamma,
What the fuck?
Bonathin, like trying to
Bonathin.
make bone jokes, but no, you just went with the
Bothaniel.
easy one. Bothaniel, you know what I mean? Like,
Bonaparte.
Bonaparte? Yeah, exactly. You're seeing it now.
I see. I thought you, dude. I didn't like famine. Don't
Famine's
diss
a
my
great
horse,
choice.
famine. I used to
Famine's a
actually
great
name all
choice.
horses Nigel. By the way, um, I
Nigel.
always named him Nigel because when the horse update came out, which is when around the time I started playing Minecraft a lot more, was the Garfield Tale of Two Kitties was on the TV
Are
in
you
the background.
are you
And
fucking with me?
and no, I'm not fucking with you. And there's a scene in the movie where there's the ferret Nigel starts singing. Female ferrets sing this song, Nigel, Nigel. And that's why I named my horse Nigel. And I just couldn't get it out of my head, so I
Oh
named
my
every
god.
horse Nigel.
Okay, but yeah, no, that's just about it. I feel like with copper, it's just pretty interesting
Yeah,
in general.
I think it could have some uses. The
But
last, or not the last thing,
the
bundles
last two
is
things,
the last two things.
bundles,
Yeah.
I hate them. I hate them. Well,
I don't.
I
Yeah.
I, I hate them in the way the fact that they exist as a way to stop the fiddling with with stuff in your bags in your inventory, but instead move it to a smaller
it's an inventory
item.
solution, but it's one that in my mind does not work, and it's very awful. Because I got issues with the UI. When you put stuff into the bundle, you can't really see what's in there. It just shows you like, instead of showing you like, oh, it's got like, in the demonstration they show, I put in 5 roses and I put in like 3 of the, I don't know, what was it,
Wood.
the Zulas or whatever the flowers on.
Yeah.
But instead of showing you that there's just how many there are of each of those, it displays like each one individually.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to make looking for your inventory a clusterfuck.
Mm-hmm.
As well, you cannot take items out individually. You have to take, it stores up to a stack of 64. Let's talk about that first. So, any non-stackables, if you got, Ender Pearls, they stack up to 16. You can put 64 into one bundle, and that counts as one stack in your inventory.
Yes.
Cool. But you can only take them out at once. So if you only have room for one stack of items, whether that be a 16 stack or a 32 stack or an 8 stack, whatever, it is going to put out 4 of them, let's say, for the Ender Pearls. But you're not going to have room for that. It already doesn't work.
Like, I'm sorry. But
It's an interesting idea for non-stackables.
It's a very interesting idea for non-stackables, but it's just not a good way in general to store your stuff. You're pushing your inventory troubles into a smaller thing.
Yeah, it just pushes the inventory problem into there, and when you try to take them out, your inventory is going to be full. There's no point in the reason to stack stuff in there, and you can't get it out easily. There's no proper UI for it or anything like that. It's annoying. I think I mentioned to you once before, my solution to the inventory problem would be more, what would you call them?
Combining the blocks together.
Yeah, combining the blocks, compressed blocks, how you convert 9 iron into, one block.
One block of iron.
That is a 1/9 of the inventory space it would take. If you have 9 stacks filling up your inventory, one whole bar just dedicated to iron bars, you can put that into one inventory slot. That is so much better. Give me that. When you have a bamboo farm, you're going to have stacks and stacks and stacks of bamboo. Let me make a bamboo block. Yeah, one of my favorite feedback suggestions, which is what I showed you, has those kind of blocks, and they're very unique and interesting. They're good for building with. They have other applications like, bamboo blocks can burn longer than regular bamboo, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's very good for compressing, and it's just so Minecrafty and the perfect way to handle inventory management. Compress the blocks, damn it. Just let us compress, combine, and just shrink down our troubles by stacking them into a whole new block. Like in that community suggestion, it had like, okay, I have stacks of apples. I'm going to put them onto my crafting table and make an apple block, or it's not an apple block, it's like an apple barrel. It's got the barrel texture, it's got apples up top, and it's very good for not only, again, clearing out your inventory of these objects, but also to decorate with. It's so good an idea. And the bundles do not do that.
If the bundles held more than 64, I would say it'd be fine. If they could hold 2 stacks worth of items, they would be amazing.
I don't think that solves the problem with the bundles, though, because again, you can't take out individual items. If you have, again, like, oh, I have like, adding up to 64, I have 8 stacks of like 8.
Yeah.
You're not going to have room for 8 tiny stacks of things. It's the reason why you wanted the inventory in the first place. base.
Mm.
You'd only be able to take those out once you cleared out your inventory. It might be good for like traveling long distances, and you gather small quantities of this and that you want to take back to your base. But
Yeah.
overall, it's not going to solve the inventory problem. And the major inventory problem isn't with exploration, it is with building
Hmm.
and not being able to get those. A suggestion I saw was like that there should be an enchantment for shulker boxes. That means, oh, you know how you have your offhand, and like if you use up a certain amount of materials in your offhand, then you can just put in more wood into the offhand. They
Yeah.
essentially wanted that for shulker boxes. So if your whatever is in your hotbar is empty, and so you place like your last wood block.
Hmm.
Your shulker box with that enchantment going from left and right, top to bottom in your inventory would check those shulker boxes for the enchantment if they have the proper enchantment, and then they had that wooden block that you just placed. It would put that into that inventory spot
Mm.
so that you can again keep placing and building without having to take out the shulker box from your inventory, place it on the ground, open it up, and then put that back on you.
Mm.
It's a much better way of handling the inventory situation, which is just getting out of control, especially with this new update. There's going to be even more blocks to carry around, and we need a better, more permanent solution than bundles.
To be honest, man, like a lot of things with the whole bundle system, there's a lot of small things that, right, as we talked about, it pushes the inventory fiddling around into a smaller area inside your inventory. It can only remove everything all at once, and let's be honest, it's not even space efficient, right?
It's not.
It will only ever work for things that don't stack to 64.
Like, the only use I could see it being for is like, oh, I got 64 stone swords in there. But like, when are you gonna feasibly be able to not only put that many in, but take that many out?
If you put 64 stone swords in, you can't remove them.
Pretty much, yeah.
Because you have to remove them all at once. You're literally just stuck.
Yeah. Or unless it spits them out into the floor, which it probably does.
That sounds disgusting.
It sounds like an annoying little nightmare. Yeah. I don't like bundles.
I generally think that
it's supposed to be sort of the intermediary stage between the luxury of shulker boxes and your basic inventory, and it just doesn't work to me.
It generally should have just been like compressed blocks, as we said, because that not only appears even earlier in the game than bundles, but can still be useful even for shulker box users.
Mm-hmm.
It's both late game and early game effectiveness.
Yeah, I'm assuming bundles as well don't work with things like hoppers, droppers, or even I doubt they'll be able to be placed into shulker boxes.
It looks very weird with that. But
yeah,
that's bundles. Let's get on the last thing.
So the last thing, we're going from the worst thing I think we can agree on, and we're moving to the strangest thing to me. It feels very unvanilla. It feels very modded. Minecraft.
We haven't even said it yet. Yeah, archaeology. Archaeology. So, in the world, there will be dig sites that will just randomly generate as a structure, and you can take a brush from inside the dig site and can uncover rare artifacts.
Is it actually a structure that spawns? I think they just set that up for the demonstration.
That would be very dumb if that was not the structure. If they don't just show structures, how else would you get these things?
Well, maybe you can find those feathers and stuff at the dig sites, but you might be able to just craft them. But
that would make sense.
You can just do it to any dirt or gravel, and I'm assuming sand as well, block. It slowly chips away at the block, and then once you've chipped away at it, it can reveal or it can shatter a treasure, or there could be nothing in there at all. It looks like there'll be a lot of valuables in that, it showed an emerald block being uncovered in a demonstration, which is useful. And it could be like, oh, you found a diamond through that as well. So you might be able to cheat the early game and stuff like that using these. I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure changes are going to be made to this. The major thing is you can get I don't know what to call them, sort of relics. They're not necessarily treasures to me.
Let's call them artifacts.
Yeah. And they're like little broken pieces of clay pottery, and then you can use them to make these new big like clay pots and jugs, and you can stick them on there like a sticker, quite literally. Anywhere you want on it, you can place them in the corner, on the front, on the back, sides, whatever, and really just put your own patterns onto this sort of pot, which is cool. And then you cook the pot. It very much reminds me of terra firma craft, but I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it being in vanilla.
I don't. I'm always an advocate that change is good, but this feels, by the
It just
very
doesn't
nature of it,
feel
is
right.
just doesn't feel like it lives up to the original design philosophy of Minecraft, right?
Absolutely. I don't even know what this is kind of useful for.
I think
Versus all the other things we discussed, how they kind of interact with, the different kind of player types and different sort of elements of the world. This seems very isolated.
right? Like Minecraft, like they were talking about how like, oh, this could like, we left it vague so then the players can find the lore of the world. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
they could
yo,
create
we
their
don't
own
even
story.
have lore for this world.
Exactly.
I've
but you
never
can-
been a Minecraft story player. What's it called? Like, there's a lot. Like, it would be great if there was if this start is the beginning of a Minecraft lore, right? That'd be interesting.
That'd
Right?
be cool.
That'd be cool. But I feel like it's more towards Minecraft Earth, if anything, right?
Yeah, I can definitely see this being implemented into like Minecraft Earth or something. I do kind of like the idea of having spooky, scary skeleton sort of vase you can place in your house, but
I think like it creatively wise, like it's a great way to
It's
express what you
interesting, yeah.
have, right? But
personally, before they would have ever done archaeology, I was hoping that they would do like leather embroidered sort of armor. Get the diamond armor, put the leather patches on it, so you can dye your diamond armor or something like that. But they jumped to the next apparently logical conclusion for unleashing your creativity, and I don't know how I feel about it. It's not a bad idea. It's just a weird one. It doesn't fit in as well as like something like banners did, right?
yeah. And even then, like the seeing a full Minecraft pixelated block disappear as you brush it away just didn't look right. I understand.
Yeah, it does. I
developer
don't know
art.
why they didn't just do like the breaking animation. With
Yeah.
it, right.
Like, don't get me wrong, developer art, right? This could change.
It could change.
It could change how it looks, but the entire aesthetic of just like of Minecraft being super blocky, super pixelated, super whatever, did not mesh well in my mind when I saw the pixelated block slowly being brushed away.
Yeah, that was weird.
Like getting dusted away.
Yeah, it slowly chips away by like a 16th of the block. Like every pixel slowly goes one by one.
Yeah, like that did not look right.
Yeah,
But
it
once
was
again,
strange.
up to change. But this is supposed to be our first impressions to one of the new things they're introducing, and that was not in my opinion, for me, and I think Ethan also agrees with me. It was not a good first step to introduce this new thing.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it changes. Maybe there will be more things. We haven't seen everything that we'll be able to find. I'm hoping it's not just those sort of patterns you can place in the clay pots. And the pots themselves, I'm not entirely sold on how they look.
Same, but once again, developer art. They very much stress that this is not final look on everything, right? But
it's going to evolve and change, and I'm hoping we can find other things from them, like maybe some skeletons, bones, stuff like that. I don't know.
that would be nice.
It kind of I think of it like blathers in Animal Crossing, like making a museum would be kind of fun.
That'd be really fun.
But
yeah.
there's not a lot of like things to put on display here, right?
I'm not sure how this will go. I personally think that they revealed archaeology way too early. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like they brought it up in like to the
It
executives.
feels more like
and they're just
something that's supposed
yo,
to be
this
like
seems
Minecraft
cool. Let's show it off.
Education Edition.
Yeah, I mean, like that's the thing though. Like the entire conference was pretty well done in terms of showing off the new things, except archaeology.
Yeah,
right?
it
was the only one.
Rushed in at the end too.
Yeah, it was the only one with developer art, right? We had final designs for everything else. The only thing that wasn't working out was at most the new generation, right? And that's and that's sure. Like the new generation is going to be difficult to implement in general. But the very fact that archaeology had its own little play area, and on top of that, it still was using developer art, kind of makes me think that it's not ready yet for caves and cliffs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
It's just so awkward.
Yeah, I generally think it got rushed out in terms of the reveal, but I am hopeful that it's cool, right?
I hope it will be interesting, and most of these things I look forward to doing on like the server, but the archaeology, I don't know how that's really gonna impact us on a server sort of setting. Maybe I'll be building, my decor in the same way people do their own like banners for their districts or for themselves.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll do pots in the same way, like, ooh, I have my entire pot covered in dragons. I don't know what's gonna happen with that.
The only thing I could ever imagine this is if I'm just like, hey man, I want a pot collection, and just like sit down in a room, it's like, oh yes, my pots.
Yeah.
That's literally just it. I can't.
They might even need to make more diversity because it doesn't look like there's a lot of different patterns so far. And I'm hoping as well we can color it the same way we do with banners, because there's not a lot of banner patterns. There's a decent chunk of banner patterns actually, but the colors emphasize a lot more variance and difference in those. And I'm hoping that the pots we can also change the color.
But we'll see. Once again, like archaeology was the most half-baked out of everything they revealed, because I'm pretty sure it isn't even done being baked. as a concept itself, I don't think it's even done its work.
Yeah.
Like, just I'm sorry, but when from the games that we've developed, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't ever want to show it off to people when you're using developer art.
Absolutely not.
You never want to do that. That's something you show off to investors, right? Or to to companies, right? When you're like reaching your milestones, right?
Yeah.
Because like you can tell them,
you don't want to show it off to the general public.
Yeah, the Gen Pop is less forgiving. Like we're being very unforgiving to this, right? Because we are in it right now, at least Gen Pop, and that's because you showed us an unfinished product, and that's what we expect, right? First impressions mean a lot, and I'm getting on about like just the fact that we were shown something that's not 100% finished and not 100% done, right?
Yeah.
And we like, gosh, like it's the difference between getting a No Man's Skies Day 1.
Oh god.
Right? Like it looks good. We had a lot of good first impressions with it, but we don't know how it's going to be when it's in play.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have like
product.
Yeah. What's a good inverse of that, right? Where it looked really bad at the start, but when you played it was really good. What's that one shooter game and what's the one FPS that everyone was like, oh, it looks like a generic shooter. But then when you played the single player, it was like one of the most transcendent experiences.
I don't know what game you're talking about.
It's for the PlayStation 3. It was God, I can't remember. I have very bad memory.
I don't play many shooters.
Spec Ops: The Line.
Spec Ops: The Line. Okay.
I believe it is. I believe it's called. The entire from what literally everyone has told me.
I was going to go with more of a recent one. EA was doing that mythology-based game, and the initial impressions of that were very low. And apparently, people recently got to, play hands-on for a couple hours, and they loved it. And I was surprised by that. That's my sort of inversion of what you were talking about.
Yeah, like people, like unironically, people will judge a game based on how it looks.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Archaeology seems like it has potential, but because of the state we were given it, could be very bad.
I don't think. And
like it did that whole like game like E3 thing where you had live gameplay. I would prefer like a cutscene, man. Just show me how it looks. You don't have to pretend like you're playing it.
Yeah. Oh man.
God, I'm sorry. But
I'm keeping that one in. I'm keeping you distant E3 going.
Hey, okay, I'm sorry for being a bit disrespectful here, but
there's no disrespect to E3. It deserved it.
It like that one demonstration felt the most scripted. Even the Warden one was, I know, scripted, but but the archaeology one
The archaeology one definitely.
felt actually like canned and scripted.
Absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, no, I believe that's all we have to talk about today, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
right.
Minecraft. That's the Minecon for us.
Yeah.
It's been a good one, guys. We'll see you on the
absolutely.
next topic. We
This
don't
is
know what we're gonna
Rafael
do.
Rodriguez.
This has been Ethan Butler. Nah, but like legit, this has been Raph.
This has been Ethan.
Have a good night, guys.
Alright, later.